thing. What you need is homogeneity. It has to be homogeneous. Your spirit to spirit. Deep must call unto deep. At different levels, we won't all be at the same level. One may be more spiritual, one may pick signals more, but they must have the Spirit of God. If any man has not the Spirit of God, is none of his. And 1 Kings chapter 11, it is very instructive for us to find that there was a king that had appeared on the surface of this earth in the history of mankind, who was the richest man in the world, the wisest man. But these heterogeneous substances of calamity was the thing that undid his destiny. 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 1. I'm still speaking of spiritual compatibility. But King Solomon loved many strange wives, many strange women. He loved strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of these nations, concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, you shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. Don't marry anyone in whose life, in whose heart you can't see your God. And don't be deceived that we are all having the same God. Those difference in religion. You have been fooled. You have been deceived to think the God of the Bible is the God of the Ishmaelites. No. A wife is given to draw the heart of a man more into God. If you want to understand what it means, look at the post-marital thing and see whether this person is loving God more. This person was having a fear. I don't want to lose my zeal. I have 1,000 soul target. How am I sure if I get married now? I don't want to slow down. Yeah, there may be shifts and changes in what you can do, different from what you could do as a single person. Because in those days, the Bible says if a man, has a wife, that wife has an allegiance by God's order, that if the woman is unmarried, she cares more for the things of God. But when she becomes married, she has to accommodate the husband, and God understands that. But not to die off. We're supposed to draw each other to more consciousness of God. And the assignments will be reordered into disorder if that alignment is not there. You know what Solomon was doing? Why they reach for his heart? You look at Delilah and Samson. You understand the target of Delilah? It was the heart of Samson. Tell me your heart. That was the commission she has received. Let us know the secret of his power. Where does his great strength lie? They were sleeping together. They did not face together. But she wanted something that had been kept in reserve. When you enter into unequal yoke, it is a target to your heart. I know some snakes. When that snake bites you, the venom begins to make its way to your heart. Doesn't stop in a local setting of your body. If it bites you on the heel, the venom must travel to your heart to go and choke you. Dangerous animal, dangerous snake. When you go into immorality, what it does is to go and choke your heart. Remove God from there. Show me your heart. Until he opened up and they finished him. The Bible says Solomon began to carry women all over the place. And God had told them how that evil works. When you enter those connections, they will turn your heart away from me. The Bible says this one that God has given restrictions for. Don't marry this one. Don't go to this one. Solomon loved them. See, it's a problem when you begin to love what God says don't do. See, deliverance matter. Why is my heart drawing to the thing that God said don't do? And it's a tendency that's become so widespread, that become norm right now. You see, correct this one, do this one. It's outwardly wrong. Say, why are they correcting us? Something is wrong. So Solomon began to, the Bible says, he went into them. Because when you sleep with somebody, where each person is a temple. So God had to define for the Corinthians through Apostle Paul, you are the temple of the Holy Ghost. He dwells inside you. When you sleep with a man, with a woman, you are connecting to the spirit that is inside them. If what you encounter in that person is not your God, you'll be polluted. Now Solomon was marrying wives, princesses. Once you are fine, you must end in his collection. I don't know the roster he prepared. You know, 1,000 women, if they had one per day, it will take 3 years plus before that first one comes back to Atom. What's his problem? And some people, that's what they marry for. Sexual satisfaction. You will see yourself. And as he was having connection with them, he was interacting with, engaging, and contacting and contracting the demons inside them. They were temples. These people were worshiping Baal and all that. You can understand how he turned away completely. That this man now began to build. This was the man who had built that magnificent structure and said, God, we can't build a place for you now. This place is too small. Even though we trip over it, but it's nothing. What is this to house you? Magnificent temple. After building that temple, he began a project of building throughout the land temples for idols. Because of spiritual incompatibility. Number 2, there must be emotional compatibility. And that simply means there must be trust. That kind of trust that means you can lay your heart on the line and trust that your partner will be there to connect to it, to collect it, and to handle it with care. That's not going to break down your emotions on purpose. You can't tell him something is going to begin to use against you. That person must acknowledge your feelings and your thoughts. And you must do the same while knowing that you are both comfortable with being open to each other. You supply that need to each other. Number 3, physical compatibility. And when you speak about that, it means there's a click on the sensual level, on the senses, which of course translates to sexual connections. This is physical compatibility. And feeling compatible sexually is one factor that can be worked on. And being honest with your needs and encouraging your partner to share their desires as well can also improve your physical compatibility. It is an act of criminality when one partner on purpose withholds the supply of that need on demand, and for the other, 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 5 says, defraud ye not the one the other. You know the word defraud is dubious. Where you know 419. This is somebody's property on that side of the globe, and you get your gadget set up and you begin to get the person tricked into something until you defraud him of what he had. When you say you defraud, you can't defraud if it was not somebody's possession. You didn't take it, it's not yours. So once it was somebody's own and you took it with willingly against his will, that's the fraud. It's cheat. So Paul is saying here, defraud ye not one another, except it be with consent for a time, so that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and then come together again. so that Satan will not tempt you for your incontinency. We're going to deal with this more. Let me come to number 4. Ideological or philosophical compatibility. Your life philosophy is how you see the world and you interpret meaning. In other words, your worldviews. Life philosophy encompasses religion, your interpretation of love, and a general sense of what it means to be a human being. What is the philosophy of the person about life? About the dignity that God has accorded the human. Are you going to come to marrying somebody who believes that, well, if we accidentally become pregnant, we abort it because it is an unwanted pregnancy? It happens in Christian homes. Something has gone on with the philosophy, because we are trying to consider economic factors. You don't understand that you are not flushing out a blob of tissue. That is life. The psalmist says, while my body parts, my members were not yet known, God will put me together, fearfully and wonderfully made. You need to understand the philosophy. What does that person believe about so many things in life? Forget the first chemistry. Chemistry can lose its reality, because when you begin to understand that the initial attraction is not going to last beyond that moment, you know, you just drop that thing. There was a particular daughter that I just had to cut a relationship, because the man has just swallowed eternal security, and she felt, let's discuss this, and the man had swallowed it too deep, and the woman said, this is a red flag. Because we're going to get married now, there are some matters that will come up in the home and you say it doesn't matter. You can do it, you can't. I mean, once you are born again, you can't lose that salvation. And he used to be a believer, and so this lady said, we can't go forward with this. Very wise daughter. That was a red flag. What are the ideas of the person? You must both develop biblical worldview, because that becomes the lens through which you see everything. You must see things from God's perspective. And sometimes similar personality types will attract, but most times it is the opposites that attract. She won't be like you. She may not have that kind of thing you think about, but you see, at the heart of this is a willingness to connect at a deeper level with God as your reference. And when you find such a person, nobody is such useless that cannot be developed. And we are meant to make each other. You are going to know if that person is compatible with you when, as you speak, you feel comfortable around the person. There's no threat. She calls you and you say, what again now? It's not about body chemistry now. There's something about what you carry that connects together. You are comfortable around them. That's why you can engage and speak for hours. You wouldn't know time has gone. It's as if you dwell there. It is good to be here. Let's be tabernacles. We are to be together with one another as human beings of the opposite gender, only as we have our being in God. We'll come to that on June 5, because I look forward to that, because there's something about marriage that can be subjected to damage if the leverage is taken away. The God factor is key. So there has to be this being, B-E, then I-N-G. Physically, it means that the person you're going to thinking of marrying, number one, basically, commonsensically, must be a living person. But not saying spiritually now. The living cannot marry the dead. In some cultures, it happens such that the man has died. It's not even this kind of marriage that you say, okay, let somebody inherit her. They just feel the husband is still alive, only he has traveled to a different realm. And the woman is not allowed to marry because they are still married. Even death does not separate them. And it's a crime on humanity, particularly for the female folk. Why do they suffer that from society? Why does the crudity of society always have the women at the receiving end? You know, I was surprised when I saw these Pharisees drag that woman to Jesus Christ. She was caught in adultery in the very act, so she must be stoned to death. And my question is, did she do it alone? Where was the man? A commentator said the man that did it must have been one of the Pharisees. And I reason with that. They let the man off, drag the woman, of course, to use that case to bait Jesus. Moses said this woman should be stoned to death, but what sayest thou? And you are relating to wisdom of God. So he said, among you accusers, you want to nail her, who has not committed any sin. They had stone already in their hand. And if you know the Jews, they were expert stone throwers. They will throw and not miss. You know, some people went to battle as carrying stone. With a right hand, they will stone you, you fall from your horse. You have not read it. With the left, with the hand, with the right, they could throw stones. They went to war. No arrow, no bow, no sword. Oko. And you know, most times the battlefield is dry, mountainous area, so the weapons were in abundance. Just pick one rock and you are down. So there has to be life for two of you. You can't be one that when marriage comes to a point where one dies, the other person is free. So there has to be being physically. Number two, there must be being spiritually. You must both carry the life of God inside you, because in Him we live, we move, we have our being. Number three, you must have a being emotionally. Don't marry anyone to whom your emotional being will be destroyed. Number four, you must have a being socially. Can I advise? Don't marry a person out of pity. Somebody who later in life you will not be happy to say, this is my wife. That's my husband. You're not proud to say, here's the man. I know a case of a man who rose and became a big man. He was still going to church, even a pastor of a church. And I saw it at close range. It was heavy. The reception was terrible. And sincerely, if you see the woman, you will think she was the mother. But I was told she was not like that before. And I know with every emotional problem she was having, she was getting more wrecked. The man couldn't introduce her as his wife. Eventually the story got to a point he had to marry somebody else. He was supposed to be a pastor of a church. She doesn't fit in again. I can't take her out for dinner. I can't take her out for social function. I can't tell my colleagues, meet my wife. Like the pastor was saying, meet the pastor Mrs. You could show her off socially. Verse 24, Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Ephesians 5:31. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Which cause? For this cause. Which cause? For the cause of oneness. You will live so that you can cleave. You are not prepared to cleave until you are ready to live. And there are people who choose never to live. If you get married and your closest gist partner remains your mother, you have got it wrong. If decisions cannot be taken in that new home without consulting daddy, what do you think? You're not prepared for that marriage. You're not supposed to be there. If you can't take independent decision as a couple, you must always ask your mommy or your daddy or somebody. They're not matured for that thing. This cause of oneness. For this reason shall a man leave his father and mother and shall cleave to his. Let me come to this last thing. Verse 25. And it says, and they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Both of them were naked, and they were not ashamed. This is as literal as it is, but beyond literal. I'm sure you know this does not mean in any way that they were living shamelessly, showing off their nakedness to society. There was no society. It was just two of them. This is kind of nakedness that is exclusively to be between the husband and the wife. It's not a shamelessness that is being promoted today and paraded in the public, even in churches, even on pulpits. The husband and the wife were naked to each other. Not just openness of mind, of opinion, but in raw nakedness. And there was no shame. God does not expect that to be carried out of you and him, you and her, to show your body part to a man that is not your husband. We'll still come to that on the essence of dressing, because when God saw these people, knew they were now naked, trying to cover up, God had to clothe them. What is the purpose of clothing? They were naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. I was told of a particular woman who was dressing modesty with modesty, and everything was with simplicity, until she got married, and it was the husband that made a demand. Why are you covering everything? And for me, I think it's a sign of utter shamelessness, a raw, stark lack and loss of responsibility for a man to have pride in showing off the body part of the wife. I lose my respect for such, sincerely, because that's a garden you must guard. The Bible says that garden must be enclosed. I'll come back to that for you. She must bear what you alone should see to the world, either by the showing of the skin that is sensitive that you alone can see, or some shapes and curves that will cause attraction unnecessarily. Are we prostituting our women? Do you understand the dignity of Vashti? At least for that, that what the king, the husband, called her to do was to come and dance naked, lewd dance. He was drunk, he was not himself again. And so at the height of that ceremony, he sent to go and call the wife. Come and dance before all this. They were men, and he called the wife to come and dance before them. And the woman said, I won't do that. Oh, she lost the position, but that was prophetic too. But the point is, what kind of woman was that? Because if you study the background to that stage, not just come and dance. It is they danced almost completely like strippers. They had those they employed for that, but the man said, I want my wife to come and do that. So take off your clothes and dance before all men. Nakedness is for you. Only you must see her in that state. Only her must see you in that state. We don't appear before the public naked and be claiming we are civilized. We're not civilized, we are being. There's a patron, a matron actually, a matron demon called Jezebel that is behind some of these things, taking over industries where what is being promoted is nudity. Why would you be naked before another man? And they were naked, the man and his wife, not ashamed. Songs of Solomon, Songs chapter 4, verse 12. A garden enclosed is my sister. A garden enclosed, not exposed. A garden enclosed is my sister. Who is that? My sister? She's my spouse. So that sister dimension is the spirituality. The spouse is the conjugality. So the conjugal relationship, the matrimony was existing, but I still see her as my sister in the Lord. A garden enclosed is my sister, who is my spouse. A spring shut up, a fountain sealed up. Thy plants are an orchard of pomegranates with pleasant fruits, camphire with spikenard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, and all trees of frankincense, myrrh and aloe. These are precious things that send forth aromatic, strong aroma. When you have these things composed together, the perfume is heavy. And this man is describing the wife like this: a fountain of gardens, a well of living waters, and streams from Lebanon. On the authority of the word of God, which he did as his work from the beginning. I want to say, every form of wanton, wayward, worldly dressing that shows and stimulates sensuality is satanic. It's a dictate of the devil. I've researched deeply on some of these things: youth culture, fashion, music, and all that. And many times I see this and I know where they are coming from. We need discernment in our days. The other day, it was in Canada. Women just went bare, topless, and they're protesting. Bare. And you know, there's a way that has come to this country, the braless people. I don't understand how people need to be lined up to have deliverance conducted. You say you are a Christian, you are a Malian. Something reptilian has entered you. It's Luciferian. Are you enjoying it? The truth. Marriage is too sacred, such that all the institutions in society, you have family, you have government, state, you have religion, you have economy, you have education. The ultimate that defines foundation for the function of the rest is marriage. Once family values are destroyed, government collapses, education goes, cultures go, economic collapse, everything, religion, everything is gone. Do you know, before God established church on this earth, he set up a home. The Bible says God set it in solitary in families. We don't set up families because we want to multiply population on earth. We want to seek an avenue that God can come down and glorify himself through that platform. It is sacred. You don't enter marriage because my body is doing something. Calm down. Calm down. I say calm down. It's not your body that will dictate to you. You carry a burden to see God glorified, and God to express himself through you and your wife. To be together. And it's not about cohabitation. So Adam saw this woman and said, wow. And then named her. Chapter 5. This is the second naming that Adam gave to the woman, his wife. This is the book, verse 1, of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, listen to me, in the likeness of God made he him, male and female created he them, and God blessed them and called their name Adam. In other words, they were both Adam. The male Adam, the female Adam. It's a covenantal thing. And the Bible says, he blessed them and called them Adam. Chapter 3, verse 20. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. The word in the Hebrew is kavah, and it means life giver, a life carrier, a life giver, because this is a woman that I will have life in me to transfer to, and it will not die inside her. Not because of miscarriage. I'm talking about potentials will not die in her hand. One of the reasons why God said, you man, you need help, is that some of us, we need, you know it very well, it's pride that will make a man feel I'm okay. You are not okay. If you are okay, God will not hear your cry for help. Something was yelling to go, help. The man was okay, but God said you need help. And you'll be helpless until your help shows up. You may have the money and everything, but that area of your life, don't depreciate the value of your wife. She has something to supply to your life that you can't get elsewhere. You are not complete. And so as that happened, 5 things. I will close on this. There was attention when they saw her. These were things that were activated and demonstrated when the man, Adam, met his wife, the woman he called Eve. There was attention. He saw her. Number 2, there was attraction. He got stuck to her. Number 3, there was affection. He was stirred for her. Number 4, there was authentication. He said, this is it. She's the one. Number 5, there was acclimatization. They just acclimatized together. And that simply means he settled with her. Do you know there was no need to make proposals? There was no courtship. There was no filing of notice. It just happened there. That could happen then because society will now eventually flow from them. It will be dangerous to say, hey, Adam, we see we marry. It won't happen these days. You need counselors, you need guide that will help you see what you're not seeing so that it can be the way it ought to be. It is not good for the man to be alone. And the preacher says 2 are better than 1. Because sincerely, you won't stand upright all through your life. There will come a time the strongest of men will be down. In that season, if you have no helper, you are down and out. It says, if one fall, the other will raise him up. So we need that one that can be of help to us in that season. Because a time will come, it will be our turn. She's down. Oh, you see some super strong men. But let me tell you, there was a day I had a trip I made. When I came back, I've never had that kind of experience before. My wife came to the airport to pick me and all. We just go to the place. I was wondering, is this me? I was down. I was depressed. Do you know if I was alone, a lot of people have been coming to my mind and going here and there. She was with me that day. And I remember she laid her hands on me. I laid on my face. I couldn't look up. She laid her hands on me and began to speak soft words and began to pray. No angel from heaven could have achieved that one. It is dangerous to be alone in such a season. There's no Superman anywhere. That's why God knows you will need help sometime, someday, somehow. Engage somebody by God's leading that will help you, not harm you. One is good, we know when you are alone, there's a stage for that. But you are going to outgrow the stage where what was good is not good again. It's good for a man to bear his yoke in the days of his youth. But when the yoke level goes, then the hope must arise for a new dimension. And there are some dimensions you will not step into. God will not shift you there. If he has plan for your marriage, because I'm going to just mention this to you, that not everyone will marry. It's not a curse. For some reasons, just maybe 2, 3 of them. Number one, because of the fact that not everyone will grow old enough to marriageable age. Infant mortality and some other kind of things that happen, that people who will not get married. So it's not a curse. Some will not get married. I call that circumstantial transitions. That the recent time there was something happened that was heartbreaking. A date was set for a wedding. I think clothing were bought, a lot of things were happening, being brought together, anticipating that day. The bride didn't make it to the altar. She died before the day of the wedding. It's not a good thing to think about, it's a reality. Not everyone will marry. Number two, some people have some medical, natural conditions. Some men are born in a way that they cannot relate to a woman. Some women have some matters in them, on them, about them that will not make them, and it's going to be the highest level of fraud to cover that up and enter marriage. Do you know that is not a marriage? One of the things that will consummate marriage is that you come together as husband and wife, and the man can do nothing. If you separate them, it's not divorce. It never existed as a marriage. And some also have some personal ministerial consecration. Paul the apostle, you can imagine if Paul was a married man, that woman would have seen Pepe. His wife, his children will have heard it. And as we look at the history of time, we read some biographies and seen some matter. There's some people you just feel this person should have married. There's some dimensions of some itinerary ministry and apostolic heat that's on some people that they can't manage a home. Man, women as well. I don't want to mention names. Some women have been able to shake kingdoms. And they married once, it broke. They married again, it broke. They should have known they were not meant for marriage. It's not a curse. They did massive things for God, but it was not meant for them. So it's not as if we're trying to say, it is not good to be alone. There's a dimension of companionship that can create for somebody who is not going to be married. I don't want to get you too much into that. But the other thing is, there's something I call impositional incapacitation. If you read the Bible, you find the word eunuch. These were men who were castrated, made as men, never to have sexual urge, not to marry, because the kings of those days, those rich men, will send these men because number one, they believe that if you castrate a man, his energies will increase. Number two, he will be insensitive to whatever he sees of a woman. And these kings will normally have women, so they have some men, they will say, take care of my wife, and the woman could strip and move around. The man will have no feeling because they have castrated him. He can't marry, he can't do anything. They were bodyguards for those women. All those queens of the ancient time, they had those men like that. You remember the Ethiopian eunuch? He was a man like that, who was in charge of the treasures of the king, of the queen. Eunuch. And Christ said, some people, when they came to Christ, they said, if this case you have sex like this, it is good that a man should not marry. Matthew chapter 19, verses 10 up to verse 12. If the case of a man be like this, it is good not to marry. Christ said, not all men can receive this thing. It's a dimension of dispensation. Not all men have it. He said, they are eunuchs. Some people were born like that from their mother's womb. Incompetent, impotent. Number two, some people were born like that, but they were okay, but then they were made eunuchs by men. He says some also have made themselves eunuchs for God's kingdom. Apostle Paul, Barnabas never married. And Paul said, is it not that we're able to marry? Is it because something wrong with me? Nothing. This is what my consecration is all about. We can lead a sister, we can get married, but we didn't go to the altar. There's so much to do for God. It is not a minus for them, but that we feel for the majority, the vast majority, we must at some point come to a stage where we say I do to somebody that was not born from your father and mother, and that's your life partner. And two, become stronger, such that what you could not achieve as a single person, a dimension is activated because you are now double. One chases 1,000, and God's multiplication is not, of course, 1 + 1 is 2. So if you say 1,000, 2 come together, they will chase 2,000. God says no, it's astronomical. One chase 1,000. When you come 2, you chase 10,000. And that's a union that does not allow a third party. But the Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes that a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Who is the third factor? God. The third fold cord that comes to you and your husband, you and your wife, is God. Not your in-laws, not your best man, not your chief's bridesmaid. It is God. So I've just done this today to give you a basic understanding. There's more we're going to still go into. But the point is, when God did this in the beginning, he did it as a blessing. And I'm going to pray for everybody. It's my desire to see a generation that is not just running after mantles, but a generation that knows some of the mantles are going to be channeled through proper marriages. And it's good to understand yourself and to know that partner and realize it's a good thing. Marriage is honorable and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. This is not an experiment for children. It is not for teenagers. It is not for boys and girls. When I say boys and girls, I'm talking about people that can even be 30, 40, 60 and they are still boys and girls. Marriage is for adults. Marriage is meant for people who have come of age, who know what it means that they can leverage on the advantage of grace, to know there's more that can be activated when I find the one that God has given to me. And it's not just judging by sight. Before you see on the physical, you see on the spiritual. Deep will call to deep. When you know your wife, you will know. That may not come immediately, but when the click happens, some it is instantaneous, some it is gradual, but it is real. It is real. At that time, you just know some energy surge rising within you. It's not because you are lost in. You can't be yourself alone again without her. Not because you want to find a way to cuddle her or something, but you just know a part of you missing has come to you. I don't know whether Adam woke up with the feeling of some vacuum here. I don't know. But the point is, when he saw the woman, say, you are the one that my missing rib. Ha! There she is. May the grace of God in this place open. I don't know what's going to go. God's going to do it. He can pair here, he can pair outside. But the thing is, today, activation takes place. Every missing rib, you'll be located to where you belong. There's a prophecy of Ezekiel. The Bible says he came to the valley of bones. And we are speaking bones today. It says, there be a word coming from you that will cause the wind to come together. And he said, I prophesied. There was a noise, there was a shaking. Bones came together. I pray today, I prophesy that part of you that is hanging somewhere, I don't know what has happened, maybe some kind of darkness, some kind of delays, some disappointment that will not make you see who you belong to or who belongs to you. Today, that veil is torn in the name of Jesus. Let me pray with you as I just spell to you adults. I don't want to leave this out. There's so much I can't say right now. But if you are speaking of marriage, we speak of adult matter, not a child. There are men who are 30, 40, 60 who have never outgrown the child in them. Paul said, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I thought as a child, I did childish things. When I became a man, I put away childish things. You are not yet a man for marriage if the child in you has not matured and left that cocoon stage with an adult. Number one, A. Adult, somebody is an adult when he has or she has awareness of self. Self-awareness, your identity, your potentialities, your tendencies that should define all your activities. It is a child that wants attention all the time. And if a child is not happy, nobody has that right to be happy around him or her. Put tantrum, put all trouble. And do you know, like I said, you're not entering marriage because I want to go and be happy. It is a benefit, but that's not your goal. You are going to sacrifice so much to make somebody happy. And if both of you can understand what that means, that I'm trying to do this to make her happy, she does that to make me happy, it's balanced. Not me, you. There's no connection. Let no man think or look into the things of himself, but unto that of the other. If you do that, it becomes what God intends. 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 7. Likewise, you wives, dwell with them according to knowledge. This knowledge is not knowledge of the Bible. It's not knowledge of schools. It's the knowledge of that person. We must know ourselves, know the tendency. You are aware of yourself. You are aware of who you are dealing with. There are some things you have tried that is not working. Can you take a break and study? There's a way to it. Nobody cannot be affected if you can get the right approach. The labor of the foolish will weary us, trying to change that partner. What is the key? What is that thing? It won't work like what you read in the book. But this is your man now. That's your woman now. Study to show yourself approved to be a wife or a husband. B. Discernment for right decision and action. Not knowing what is right or wrong or what to take as decision independently is what we find in children. You must always, mommy, in your own family now, you have to be calling your mommy, calling grandma, calling auntie and all that. You are not a woman. You are not ready for marriage. There has to be discernment of right decision. You must consult when it is needed, but that is not what you live on. You, unchangeableness in commitment. Once you make a commitment to one person, you don't switch in any season for any reason to somebody else. It is that person. If she was beautiful, she must be beautiful for life. If what got you close to her as an attraction was figure 8, figure 8 will soon become figure 0. Or she will become roundabout. And the point is, you must love that. See, if your love is not growing, then you are not right. Everything about that will bring changes must be in a way that is synchronized with your changes. Now everything was erect and standing. When they fall, do you fall? You flow along. We're speaking, it's not children matter. See, if you can't love for life, don't love at the beginning. Love does not expire. You'll be surprised that what you see today, you won't trade it for what you had to for. Sincerely, you just love what you see than that one. You thought you love, now you see love. It must grow. If that love has outgrown what it used to be, you know, when she now became something else or he became something else, you know, you just say, I've lost him. You never had him. Unchangeableness in commitment. Love, L, without limit. You must love without limits, not time frame while you are alive. It is love for life without limits or reasons. No reason to withdraw. You must engage the content you find in that container. Love that person. She's too gentle for my likeness, for my liking. He's too vocal. You will love. T, you trust with vulnerability. Is God blessing somebody here today? Trust with vulnerability. So no more secrets, no more privacies, no more signs of no entry. You must be free to open up to each other's private innermost chambers. No surface dealings, no lock up, no shut up. keeping at arm's length. Loving means readiness for losing. If you are not prepared to be vulnerable, you are not supposed to be marriageable. If you have secret you will not tell your partner, you are owing a debt. Let the person know who you are. In fact, from the beginning, there's some discoveries somebody should not know when they have come to be with you for life. If the love is for you, that person you have disclosed to will love you with all the details of who you are. He will know who he is marrying. She will know who she is marrying. When I was a child, I spake as a child. It means we have to grow up. What drives us for marriage is not, I need a woman in bed with me. I need a man that will be that will be petting me and be taking care of my needs. This is my emotional need. It is not that. It's more than that. The question is, am I prepared for it? Are you ready for marriage? What we could have done, we envisaged this because it's a subject that's going to take long. We envisaged we're going to have this stretch because we're supposed to have Q&A. But I promise you, in the shortest possible time, I'm going to arrange for a time like this. We're going to make it bigger. And we'll dedicate enough time, maybe like an hour or so, for questions and answers. But I know that when you have spoken this more like a monologue, it will have aroused certain things in people. And many times the engagement we need to know and have as the best take home is the thing we have when we're doing Q&A. It will open us up. We'll know our assumptions, we'll know our fears, we'll know our confusions, and then those answers can come. However, I just want to go with this thing to understand that there's something about you that ought to be better. And if it is in God's agenda for you to get a partner, then that better is on reserve. There is much more to you than you must have known at any stage in life. Marriage is not a thing that must bring damage to whatever God has put in us. It should boost everything. It should increase everything. It should make the real us to emerge, because it is God's first institution. That's the foundation that makes every other thing relevant and possible. Bow your heads with me. Talk to God. Thank you, Lord. It's about teaching us to open our eyes to basic things. I want to beg of you, please, don't get a partner whom you cannot find in God's presence. Grace abounds. Mercy flows.